Hi, Jeremy. This is for you. If there's a place where the strength of this draft class and the needs of your team intersect, where might that be?
Without getting into our strategy for the draft, I think that's probably something we wouldn't be saying publicly. But I think that there's, overall that the draft is, there's certain areas that the strength is a little bit better than others. I feel like there's some good depth in the special teams and defensive line, and really it's just a matter of approaching it with, I think our approach is something we're probably going to keep to ourselves before we get into the draft. But I think that that's the area of strength.
All right, thanks.
Thank you, Dan. Next question is from Paul Friesen. Please go ahead, Paul.
Hey, thanks. This one's for Craig. A lot of player movement in the offseason this year, and some big-time player movement, quarterbacks included. Your team aside, is there a team that you think maybe won the offseason, or a team that you find is the most intriguing moves?
Yeah, Paul, I don't know if there's a team that really won the offseason, and I'm not so sure that necessarily translates to in season. What you generally see is teams that make the most offseason moves were the teams that needed to make them. I think every team did a good job. I think there's a lot of good people in this league that put a lot of time and effort into free agency, and I think every team addressed needs as they saw fit, and I feel like we had a good offseason so far, and I think some other teams did too. Hamilton certainly was aggressive. You could see that. Yeah. But as far as winning the offseason or not, I'll let the folks that are in the media and the fans decide that. Our goal every year is to be as sound as we can and to fill needs, and I felt like we did that. And I think if you asked every team, they probably feel the same.
Okay, maybe a quick thought on your neighbor and your rival here in Winnipeg. I mean, you can only stay at or near the top for so long. What do you see there?
Well, they're a well-run team, and they have a system they believe in, and they recruit certain guys, and they seem to have a lot of success keeping the guys that they want. So hats off to them. I thought they had a strong free agency, like they have in really the last 4 or 5 years.
Thanks for that.
Yep.
Thank you, Paul. Next question is from Jacob Carr. Please go ahead, Jacob.
Hey, for you, Jeremy, just can you touch a little bit on this kind of revamped combine process that is taking place this year and how it enables you guys to evaluate players better?
Yeah, so it's an interesting thing. It's kind of a combination of the combine and the Senior Bowl that you would see in the States. And so when we talked about it, we kind of talked about it. Were we doing too many regional combines? How should we change it? Was there an opportunity for us to try to, see the guys in practice? Because doing one-on-ones is nice to see them going against each other. They're going against the best competition in the draft. But I think what's nice about it is they have to learn a little bit about concepts and plays and see how they get coached and see how they compete in practice. So it's a little combination of both those things. If you think NFL Combine and Senior Bowl, it's kind of a combination of both of those. So just another way for us to evaluate the players, and we're looking forward to seeing how those practices go.
Yeah, and I guess just one more. You mentioned, obviously, I don't want you to give away your draft strategy by any means, but you've retooled, or not necessarily retooled, but a lot of new faces on the offense, receiver, quarterback, a few new old linemen. As far as draft goals, will you maybe be focusing a little bit more on the defense, or is it just best player, best fit?
Yeah, once we get through the final process, so we're really early in the process here of evaluating all the players with our coaching staff, our personnel department, just evaluating guys on tape. And this is obviously a big part of it coming to the combine to see their measurables. So we're early in that process, and then that's our strategy is usually is try to take the best available. But obviously, if you're strong at that position, then you may make a concession to take a different player. So we haven't determined whether we go in offense or defense. I don't think that any of the other teams would be saying anything different because we're just so early in the process.
Yep. Thank you.
Thank you, Jacob. Next question's from Britton Gray. Please go ahead, Britton.
Hey, Jeremy, a question for you. Just with the Combine, you have all this tape of these players. They play a full season now that they're playing full seasons again after COVID. Can someone really improve their draft stock at the Combine, or do you essentially know where you have guys slotted? And if they can you give an example of someone who did jump up your guys' board based on their Combine results?
Well, I think, yeah, it goes both ways. Britain is they can improve and they can lower their stock, right? So a lot of times, especially our coaching staff, when they first evaluate the players, you don't have an indication of how fast they are. Obviously, you look at it and you say his game speed looks okay, and then you get to the Combine, they're either faster or slower than you anticipate it, and so that's one of the things where it kind of they'll move up or down. They really do, and the grades change from watching the film and then going through the Combine. The key is not to get too carried away or put too much weight on it, unless it's a real bad time that they ran or their strength isn't there. That can move them up or down. I think if you wanted an example, someone that really moved up in the draft for us was when we drafted Dakota Shepley a couple years back. Dakota came and tested off the charts and really showed that he had the physical attributes that you want in an offensive lineman, with his broad jump and just his movement. So he was a guy that kind of went up, and really there's not a ton of guys that stay exactly the same after you come to the Combine. There's a lot of moving parts after the Combine.
Excellent. And one not so Combine related, but we have a lot of people asking, Dan Clark, has he given you guys a decision about his future? I know he's still doing stuff with the Riders Foundation and helping out a lot in the community, but what's going on with him?
We've been real honest with Dan Clark, and we actually told Dan that we weren't planning on bringing him to camp. So I don't know if he's got other opportunities or if he's still planning on playing. He's still doing lots of great stuff with us in the community. We're not in any rush to throw Dan out the door or anything like that. So he's been around with us for a long time. He's a true Rough Rider. He's great in the community, and he's got great leadership. So we were open with Dan going into free agency, and then we came out of free agency, we were open with him as well, and told him that we weren't planning on offering him a contract for next year.
Thank you.
Thank you, Brendan. The next question's from Rob Vanstone. Please go ahead, Rob.
Hey, Jeremy. Hey, Craig. This year with the camp expanding, there's 7 people from football ops at the camp. How does that differ numerically from previous years when the camp was 3 days instead of 5?
Creative question.
Yeah.
So I think, if I recall last year, what we did is we actually combined our off-season coaches meetings with the Combine. So we actually we brought the majority of our staff with us and kind of did that because it worked out, the location and the timing of the year. So we had more staff with us last year than we had this year. And this year we're a little more conscious of our scouting cap. And so, yeah, I would say that our numbers are similar, I guess, to normal years. Like, everyone's got different strategies of who they would bring and how many you should bring. And we felt like it was the right thing to do was just bring our coordinators basically, and our assistant GM Kyle is here as well.
To what extent is everybody just more actively hands-on involved now that the coaches especially are involved in working with the players directly?
I can answer that. Well, I think it's a nice change up, Rob. It allows the coaches to do the actual drills that they would do with their guys and to actually use the terminology they would use when they're coaching their position group. So I think having CFL staffs coach this gives us a little more of a realistic view of how the guy's going to, 1, take coaching, and 2, is he capable of doing the drills that we want him to do. It's certainly going to be fun to watch the coaches coach, and it's going to be fun to see how these players take that coaching. We're going to be able to evaluate them not only physically, but how are they mentally, and do they appear like they can learn quickly the schemes and the techniques that the CFL coaches are teaching them.
Perfect. Thank you both.
Thanks, Rob.
Thank you, Rob. We have 2 questions lined up. We're going to do a last call for questions for this one. Next question's from Derek Taylor. Please go ahead, Derek.
Question for both of you, if I might. Jeremy, start with you. What do you believe Darrell Walker can be to your team this season?
Yeah, we when we looked at Darrell at kind of into free agency, we just looked as a guy that's had a lot of experience in our league, that's had a lot of success and been a good player. I think that there's no secret that we're changing our makeup of our receiving core and in particular just that room in general. So just looked at a guy that can add a lot of value for being a veteran that's played in our league for a long time. I think Darrell's been a 4-time All-Star in our league, and so Darrell can do a lot of things for you. He's had some really big years in our league, and but more importantly, I think he's going to bring some leadership, and he's got some familiarity with Trevor. Obviously, that helps as well, and just excited that he wanted to be part of the organization, and we welcomed him in. So we're happy that he joins us. So yeah, we're hopefully he can give us some down the field presence. I think you're the stats guy, DT, but I think his yards per catch is right up there, and can be a deep threat for you and do some other things as well. So we're happy to have him.
And Craig, if I might get your take on this, in the last 3 years, it feels like to me he struggled with inaccurate quarterbacks, and I don't want to put that on any, but inaccurate quarterbacks have robbed him of what he could be, is kind of my perception. Is there any hope that playing with Trevor can bring him back to what he might have been in, say, 18, 19?
Yeah, I think chemistry is a big thing, and he's been on a number of different teams. So the fact that he's coming to Saskatchewan, it's a different team, but he's going back to playing with a guy that he has a relationship with and chemistry with. So I think anytime you can get a quarterback and receiver a lot of reps together, they can develop chemistry. I think you're going to see an increase in production. So we're excited to have him, and we feel like he's still got a lot of good football left in him.
Thank you, guys. Great to see you.
Good to see you.
Thank you, Derek. Next question's from Frank. Please go ahead, Frank.
Thank you, gentlemen, for doing this. I hope you're looking forward to football coming up. How important is the Canadian Combine in regards to finding offensive linemen? Do you see an opportunity there? In general, I'm not looking for you to give away your plan.
I think it's important for everyone, but I think it's in the drafts in the past, that offensive linemen, they're a big makeup of your roster, right? Most teams are going to play with 3, some play with 4. So just the fact that you have that many starters, and then also you have to have backups that are quality backups as well. So I think there's always a huge emphasis on offensive linemen in the draft, and we've had some great ones that have come through the draft, and so I think it's just an opportunity for those guys to come in and do their testing, but more importantly, do the drills and do the one-on-one blocking. But obviously, it's a huge part of the success or not success of teams, and it's a big part of our Canadian ratio.
Coach, you have anything to add to that?
No, that seems sufficient.
Then thank you.
Thanks, Frank.
Thanks, Frank.
Thank you, Frank. Last questions from Britton Gray. Please go ahead, Britton.
Jeremy, just at the combine, obviously you're looking for the physical intangibles, how fast they run, how much they can bench press. But what else do you look for during this week when just talking to the guys and getting to know them? What are you really trying to find out about these guys personality-wise?
The biggest thing is we're trying to see how much they love football, right? That's the key for us, and also being good dudes, as weird as that sounds, but you want to see how they interact, not necessarily in a situation where you put them in an interview where they walk in and they're dressed up and their agents kind of told them all the questions that they're going to get. They get asked the same question from interview to interview. It's more how they act on a day-to-day basis, right? How they are in the lobby, how they are in the elevator, how they're getting along with their teammates, how they interact with the CFL staff, if there's any flags that come up from that. But you want good guys, you want good people in the locker room. Obviously, you have to fit the bill as a football player and their measurables, but those are the things you try to uncover while you're here. Spend some time getting to know them as people. And you know, it's I wish it was an easy science where you just said, hey, we spent a lot of time with them and we feel like they're good to go. We've had situations where we felt like we've had guys that were going to play football for as long as they possibly could and then decided not to a year or two later, right? So things can change. You know, people can put fronts on when you only see them for a small period of time. But that's where a lot of our legwork and talking to their coaching staffs, their strength coaches and people that they work with in the past to get the real goods on people. I think it's hard to get a real good feel of people when you're only spending 10, 12 minutes with them in an interview, what they're prepared for. So those are what we're looking for.
Excellent. And last question for me, just a lot of changes with the Riders, disappointing season last year. Are you guys just ready to get to training camp and get this 2023 season going?
Yeah, we've been ready. I mean, we're obviously a lot of work to do before training camp, and we're getting closer, but the excitement's starting to get there. We've had all of our coaching staff together in the last week. Players are in town and working out, and there's some excitement that's happening there. And then, you know, this week too kind of starts off the 2023 season with we have the combine and then the draft coming up. So yeah, we've turned the page on last year and you know, it's probably happened a while back, but we're just looking forward for 2023, and we're excited about some of the new players we have, but we're also excited about some of the guys we got returning that are excited to be back, and you know, really just growing that team chemistry and getting that bonding going with our training camp in Saskatoon. We're looking forward to it.
How about you, Craig?
Yeah, we just got back from our coaches retreat in Texas, Britain, and I'll tell you, that's a good bunch of guys. You know, we feel real strongly about the staff. It's a different looking staff than in previous years, but good football minds, competitive individuals, and guys that are driven to do well. So we're excited. Jeremy and I both really feel we've done some good work this off season. There's plenty more to do, but we're excited. We're excited to hit the ground running in 2023 and looking forward to camp.
If you want to contact us by email me at candidfrank@hotmail.com. Watch us and subscribe to our YouTube channel at Candid Frank Stanishi 1030, or message me on Facebook at Candid Frank Stanishi for any ideas or comments you have about the program. Thanks for watching, everybody. Until next time.